Yes, yes, sir. So, sir, welcome. And today's, as we all know, today is a historic day because this Right to Information Act has been come into force on this very day, on 15 June 2005, which has just resulted in a paradigm shift in this concept of information, seeking information from different public authorities. So I would request our Yugal sir to please say a few words
So,
to
sure.
welcome our guest.
Thank you, sir. At the
Over to
outset, I'll
you, sir.
request my Vice Chancellor Sahab to kindly inaugurate the today's workshop. That is National Workshop on Right to Information. Professor, the Honorable Vice Chancellor Sahab, Professor Dr. Muddu Vinay Sahab, please inaugurate.
See, first of all, good morning to today's speaker, Mr. Sailesh Gandhi, and Dr. Yugal Kishore, Dean ICFAI Law School, and the convener, Professor Sunil Kumar, and Registrar Brigadier Rajiv Sethi, faculties, and my students. First of all, on behalf of ICFAI University, Dehradun, I welcome and I thank Sailesh Gandhi, who had taken the time to be with us and who had accepted our invitation to conduct this workshop for the students and the faculties. And on behalf of ICFAI Law School and ICFAI University of Dehradun, I inaugurate this workshop on the right to information, please. Kindly go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Sir,
now, please start. Please go ahead.
Sir, because our honorable registrar sir is also present, and we are quite fortunate that sir has finally found some time for their staff and our pupil. So I would request sir to say a few words.
Thanks a lot. Firstly, it seems like a left-handed compliment that finally you have been able to find some time to attend a workshop. But anyway, thanks a lot. And actually, firstly, welcome to the Mr. Sailesh Gandhi. And I was reading his, let's say, the biography, and that he has been actually one of the top RTI activists in India. And therefore, he would be actually in a position to give a very clear idea as to the various advantages of the RTI Act and certain misuse of the RTI Act. I'll just share a little background to why I say the misuse is because while I was the Colonel Administration in Delhi area, so approximately a very large amount of the armed forces are located there, and I was the appellate officer, and there was a large number of cases that used to come to us, which really actually took a lot of time because the people, some of them, so-called RTI activists, were really hell-bent on seeking information of the kinds as to how many air conditioners are there in the house of the army chief, and as to why they are not allowed in the houses of the GCOs, etc. So it used to actually fox us, and most of the time we were able to give an answer saying that these things don't fall in the purview of the RTI Act. However, then the person will go to the next person, and then finally, since they were pretty, let's say, they were known activists, so they knew the pitfalls, and they will say that as per Act so and so you are supposed to answer, etc., etc. And it took a great amount of effort to somehow, it took a lot of time, took a lot of manpower, a lot of resources to get somehow get them off your back. So this, I'm sure Mr. Sailesh Gandhi would be actually not so agreeing with my observation. However, it will possibly give us the the counter view on this particular, the success of the RTI and the misuse thereof. Thank you very much. I would request you to continue with your presentation. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for your so many nice words. And moving forward, Aditya, I think now you can listen me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And take
I
over,
shall-
because this is in fact in this COVID era we are facing so many issues, and since he was the person who has to anchor this, but somehow because he was not able to join because of some technicalities. Okay, Aditya, to you, sir. To you, Aditya.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. So before moving to the session, I would request Mr. Sunil Kumar, the faculty coordinator of this legal forum. His guidance and support, the forum has continuously reached heights year after year to provide an overview on this workshop. Sir, please, sir.
Okay, Aditya. So because since the year I have joined ICFAI University, I have been given the charge of this ICFAI Legal Aid Cell. And now I have just broadened the horizons of this cell, and now I have made it a forum. And as the basic purpose, as enshrined in Article 39 of Indian Constitution, which talks about the free legal aid. So we are having a legal aid cell which works 24/7. We are always available and always ready to help those downtrodden, needy pupils, those who really need our help. And this legal aid cell not only give the advice to the needy pupils, but we also have to one more task I have added to it, that is to bridge the gap between theory and practice through this legal aid. That is, we used to call learning by doing. So today, just to aware the general mass, to our students regarding one of the important aspect of having information from different public authorities and its instrumentalities, we are having one of the very learned person, and who is not only having a vast experience in this area, who not only served as a information commissioner, but also was also instrumental in bringing forth this very act. So now, without being hurdle in the people
I will be speaking.
who are more than 100. So, okay, sir. Sir, you want to say something?
Yes, I will be speaking because I could not welcome properly and I could not speak.
Okay, okay, sir. Okay, sure, sir.
Sure.
So over to you, sir.
Okay, so I'm extremely sorry at that time. I thought, first of all, my Honorable Vice Chancellor Sahab should inaugurate and then only I should speak. So that is why I have not spoken. So respected Vice Chancellor Sahab, Registrar Sahab, and the keynote speaker of the National Workshop on RTI, a great activist and former Central Information Commissioner of Government of India, Mr. Respected Shailesh Gandhiji, and the organizer of this particular workshop, Mr. Sunil Ji, and his team, my esteemed faculty, professionals and academicians from across India, and my dear student friends. Today, as our Professor Sunil Ji has rightly said, that is a very important day. The reason being that Right to Information Act has come in force, and that is why this day is celebrated. And on this occasion, we are very fortunate that we have a very, very great activist on RTI, who has really worked on it, and who has been there as a Central Information Commissioner for that, and who has a lot of experiential knowledge in this aspect, is here to speak before you. But then, before I can give the eyes to him, I will be taking a little time to speak about my university also. So, with the permission of the chair, I will be talking about something about my university. This university was opened, was established in the year 2003 by an act of the legislature of the government of Uttarakhand, and one great institution builder and academician, Mr. Yashasvi from Hyderabad. He was instrumental in establishing it, and he has established a number of universities, and he was a great educationist. His dream was that the university should be a great center of learning, as well as it should have the professional skill and proficiency in it. So, working on his goal, this university has established 4 center of learning. That is, with regards to law, of course, where we are in. That is ICFI Law School, then ICFI Business School, then ICFI Tech School, and of course ICFI Education School. In all these schools, we have tried to inculcate the standard education as per the government policies, and further, we have tried to provide the research and professional skill to our students. And with the result that last year also and this year also, we are having the World University ranking on real impact. So the World University ranking on real impact for this year has been 34. This particular ranking is provided by the United Nations Institute of Training and Research. So, further looking at, we have established a number of centers and programs here in this university. And by the time the COVID-19 came up, we started under our university social responsibility online programs. So, till date, our university has organized more than 200 the online programs. Even some programs were there for 21 days, some were there for 7 days, some for 3 days, and many more for 1 day. So in this way, we have been working in the field of university corporate responsibility in a great way. And in this process today, we are having this national workshop on right to information. Here I would like to speak a few words about right to information. The basic thing is that Sir is here. In front of him, I am speaking, something like throwing candlelight to the sun. But then I was also there. I was not a good activist, but of course, I have spoken at various platforms on right to information before the promulgation of this act. And I remember that official secret acts of 1923 and the sovereign power of the government was a great hindrance in the right to information to the citizen, and thereby the true democracy was not being established in India. So I'm really very fortunate that I'm having a darshan of a person like our today's great keynote speaker, Mr. Shailesh Gandhiji, who has worked extensively as a very active person for the right to information, and who has been instrumental in providing a lot of information to the public as information commissioner. So with this, I take this opportunity to pass on the mic to our learned speaker of the day, Mr. Shailesh Gandhiji. Thank you very much, sir. Acha, and at the outset, of course, I've forgotten to welcome you. I wholeheartedly welcome not only you, but our Vice Chancellor Sahab and Registrar Sahab and all the academicians, professionals, and my team members, faculty members, and dear students who are here for this national workshop. And I understand, sir, you are a very busy person. Despite the fact you have been so humble that you said you have got time for this. I understand, sir, because you are a great activist. You always want to be under this. You always wish to inform and inculcate, sensitize, and give proper direction to the public, and that is why you like this platform. So you are having time for that. We are very much grateful to you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much, Yugal sir. It was great listening to you. So the moment is here. I would request our keynote speaker for the workshop, Mr. Shailesh Gandhi, who is a first-generation entrepreneur and a distinguished alumnus awardee of IIT Bombay, a man who sold his company to become an RTI activist. Shailesh sir was part of the national RTI movement, which was involved in drafting the National Act. He was the convener of the National Campaign for People's Right to Information. He has used RTI and also trained many citizens and government officials in over 1,000 workshops to use it. The only RTI activist to have been chosen as a Central Information Commissioner. He disposed a record of 20,000 cases in 3 years and 9 months and ensured that most cases were decided in less than 90 days. He gave many landmark decisions on RTI. Apart from organizing the first digital paperless office in the Commission, he is passionately pursuing the cause of evolving ways for a time-bound justice, delivery system, and improving governance system. Amongst many awards, he has been awarded the Nani Palkhiwala Civil Liberties Award and the MR Pai Award. He has published a book, RTI Act, an authentic interpretation of the statute, and a paper critiquing Supreme Court judgments on RTI. At present, Sir is continuously organizing sessions on hybrid virtual courts, keeping in view access to justice. I would now request Sir to take over and enlighten our participants on the various practical aspects and nuances of right to information. Also, before starting, I would urge my fellow participants to post their questions in the chat box, and we'll be taking all the questions at the end of the session. The session will be of 40 minutes and 5 minutes will be dedicated for RTI filing, followed by session 2, which will be of 30 minutes, concluded by 10 minutes dedicated for question and answers. So the stage is all yours, sir.
Fellow citizens of India, we say India is the world's largest democracy. When I was in school, I was taught that democracy is rule of the people, for the people, by the people. And I don't think that definition has changed. Question I'd like to pose before all of you is, if you interact with a government office, do you feel as if you are the ruler of this country? And the universal answer is no, we don't feel we are the rulers of this country. Then are we a democracy at all is the question that we need to raise. In Hindi, we use the word Lokshahi. Lokshahi can only have one meaning, Logo ki Shahenshaahi. Each one of you must feel like a Badshah or Begum of this nation. Only then is it a Lokshahi, only then is it a democracy. Otherwise, it's a sham democracy. I would submit to you that we call India the world's largest democracy because we have a reasonably fair system of elections by which we are able to change our representatives, governments, and so on. But that and the constitution are necessary conditions for a democracy, but are not the complete set of conditions. The heart and essence of democracy, my friends, is in the fact that each individual citizen is a sovereign of this nation, and he or she must get the respect of the sovereign of a nation. In the absence of that, it's not a democracy at all. Now, some of you will wonder, what has this got to do with right to information? I would submit that right to information is a part to democracy. In 1947, we said we got Swaraj, 15th August 1947. Swaraj means my Raj, your Raj. Without that, it is not Swaraj, it is not true democracy. One college where I was giving a lecture from a hall, not in a webinar of this nature, one young student got up and said, "Sir, आपकी बातें तो बड़ी अच्छी लगती हैं, सबको बादशाह बेगम बना दिया, ये चिकनी चुपड़ी बातें तो बड़ी अच्छी लगती हैं, but ऐसा हो सकता है क्या? 130 करोड़ बादशाह और बेगम से देश चल सकता है क्या? And I'd like to point out that yes, it does happen. And I'd like to give you two examples for this. The first example is the United States of America. I'm not saying it's perfect. Lots of faults in there, but let's look at some parts which are positive. An immigrant from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, China, if he or she has applied for a green card or citizenship of America, will easily pick up the telephone to ask about the status of his application. And 99% he will get a perfectly rational answer saying there are defects in the application, this is likely to be considered, and so on and so forth. You are all first-rate citizens of India. If you've applied for change of address in a ration card and you've not received a response, most of you will not pick up the phone to ask about the status of your application. Even if you go to that office, your chances of getting a rational answer are 50-50. That is because respect for a human being is fundamental. I would say beyond democracy, it is human rights. Respecting each individual person. A voice on a phone, because a human being is calling, has got to be respected. The second example I'd like to give you is an example that we all know, but I'd like to give a slightly different perspective to this. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi got inside the train in South Africa. He had a first-class ticket, but the white man objected, hence he was taken off the train. The same story is written that Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi sent a telegram complaining about what had happened to him 125 years back in South Africa. And in 12 to 14 hours, a railway official came and put him on the next train. Think of the significance of this story. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi was not a citizen of South Africa. By South African law then, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi was not even a first-rate human being. He was a second-rate human being since he was a brown man and not a white man. Despite that, despite this fact, because one human being complained, the system responded. 2021, I need not ask you if you file a complaint with the railways today, forget 12 to 14 hours. In 12 to 14 days, if you get an acknowledgement, you will probably feel happy. Arey koi acknowledge to karta hai, maine complaint diya to. This is not to run down India. It is only to say that each individual citizen is a sovereign, and that is a fact that must be respected everywhere. The government is me, you, individually. We are all sovereigns of this nation. We are kings and queens of this nation. Without that, there is no democracy. It goes against the Constitution of India. It flies in the face of a democratic setup. Having said this, whereas this was there in theory, we had no actual instrument by which the citizen could exercise his sovereignty. RTI gives that. It recognizes the fact that government belongs to you, you are the sovereign, you have a right to the information that is held by government, and if a public official does not respond in the reasonable time, without reasonable cause, he or she is likely to be penalized because he did not respect the rights of one individual. That one individual may be a person staying in a hut, a very poor person, he can be a beggar. But because one human being is asked for information that belongs to him, the citizen of India, and that has not been responded, this would lead to penalties for individual officers. Now, what we are going to do today is, we'll run through some of the provisions of the law, key provisions of the law, and this is a very simple law. And I would urge you, all of you, to use this. Now, just give me about 30 seconds while I share my screen. Just give me a few seconds. I'm adjusting my screen. Is this visible?
Yes, sir. It is.
Fair enough. The right to information, the All India Act, there's a history to this. The first transparency law in the world came about in Sweden on 2nd December 1776. After that, for nearly 150 years, no other country had such a law. In the last century, over 120 countries have set up transparency laws which recognize the right of citizens to get information from their government. In 2005, a national act was enacted, and as Professor rightly said, on 15 June it became functional because the President gave his assent to the act. Let's look at the provisions of this. The preamble of a law establishes the purpose of a law. It says, whereas the Constitution of India has established a democratic republic, and whereas democracy requires an informed citizenry and transparency of information which are vital to its functioning, and also to contain corruption and to hold governments and their instrumentalities accountable to the governed. And whereas revelation of information in actual practice is likely to conflict with other public interests, including efficient operations of the government's optimum use of limited fiscal resources and preservation of confidentiality of sensitive information. And whereas it is necessary to harmonize these conflicting interests while preserving the paramountcy of the democratic ideal. This law harmonizes the various interests. It is not left to individual officers to harmonize this. The law has laid down the limits, the contours of the information and who has to give information, and the law harmonizes conflicting interests. What is information? Information means any material in any form, including records, documents, etc., etc., and information relating to any private body which can be accessed by a public authority under any other law for the time being in force. In simple terms, if I may explain this, information must exist. What exists is information. This is right to information, not right to interrogation. For example, if you ask, what is the meaning of this law? There is no information on, unless there is a record which shows the meaning of the law, there is no information to be given. You cannot ask, if I apply for this job, will I get it? Because there will be nothing on record to show whether you would get the job or not. Unless a record exists, a record is what you will get. What exists is information. What does not exist is not information. This is not right to interrogation, it's right to information. Who has to give information? The law defines public authorities under section 2H. Public authority means any authority or body or institution of self-government established or constituted by or under the Constitution, by any other law made by Parliament, by any other law made by state legislature, by notification issued or order made by the appropriate government. Because of this, all deemed universities also get covered by the Right to Information Act because they are created by notification issued specifically for that deemed university, and includes any body owned, controlled or substantially financed, non-government organization substantially financed directly or indirectly by funds provided by the appropriate government. Anything where substantial finance is given by government, because it is my money. I, the citizen, have paid for this. This ownership belongs to me. There is a lot of controversy recently about the PMKS fund, which is unfortunate. The PMKS fund is clearly controlled by government. They claim we are not controlled by government, we are not financed by government, but there can be no denial. 4 of the trustees, the chairman of the trust and 3 other trustees are ex officio ministers, are ex officio trustees because they hold ministership positions. And they cannot say that we will not act as per the government's line. They represent the government ex officio, and their only job is to represent the government and to give a government view. They give a different view and not the government's view would be a doubt of their integrity, which would not be fair. It is very unfortunate they are not obeying the law. What is right to information? Right to information means the right to information accessible under this act, which is held by or under the control of any public authority, and includes the right to inspection of work document records. You can inspect work, you can inspect roads. A young boy in Mumbai decided to inspect a government hospital. So he went there, took a look. and found certain deficiencies, which I believe have got corrected. Taking notes, extracts or certified copies of documents or records. This is what is normally done. You get extract of a document or photocopies of document. Taking certified samples of material. You can take samples of material also. For example, if you believe that the food grain being supplied through ration shops is of bad quality or inferior quality, you can take a sample and get it tested. If you believe the government hospital has got fake drugs, you can again take a sample of it and get it tested. Obtaining information in the form of diskettes, floppies, tapes, video cassettes, etc. CCTV footage is also included and can be a very vital source of information for lots of things because of the fact that a lot of places are covered by CCTVs. The most important section of the RTI Act is the shortest, Section 3. Subject to the provisions of this Act, all citizens shall have the right to information. Who can have right to information? All citizens of India. It's a fundamental right of citizens of India. Can any information be refused? Subject to the provisions of this Act, it can be refused. But beyond this, no information can be refused. The default mode is you are the Badshah or Begum and all in government belongs to you. At one college again, when I was talking of this and said the government belongs to you, the nation belongs to you. One young student, another young student got up and said, "Sir, are you sure?" I said, "Yes, I am sure, absolutely." He said, "अगर सरकार में एक कार है, मुझे पसंद है, तो मैं घर ले जा सकता हूँ क्या?" I said, "No, you can't at home." He said, "Then how? You are saying government is mine. If I own the government, why can't I take the car home?" The answer is because you own that car in partnership with 130 crore other Indians. So if you take the car away, you are depriving the other 130 crore co-owners of that car. But, and this is important to understand, all the information in the cupboards, computers, filing cabinets in government belongs to you. You own that information. And therefore, you have a right to get that information. And if that information is given to you, it does not deprive anybody else of their right, like it would if you took the car home. Therefore, the default mode is information belongs to the citizens of India. They are the owners of the information and they must get all the information. What information cannot be given because it may harm certain particular interests that the law feels it is necessary to protect is defined in the law. Beyond that, no information can be denied to a citizen of India. Section 4 is called the heart of the RTI Act. What it says is every public authority shall maintain all its records duly catalogued and indexed in a manner and form which facilitates the right to information under this Act and ensure that all records that are appropriate to be computerized are within a reasonable time and subject to availability of resources computerized and connected through a network all over the country on different systems so that access to such records is facilitated. It's a common experience. Quite often a citizen goes to a government office to pursue his complaint, his application, his representation, and he may often be told file nahi milta hai. मिल जाती है 500 रुपया दिया तो रिकॉर्ड बंदी हो जाएगा 2000 रुपया दिया तो फाइल गायब हो सकती है. All of this was promised to be changed, and therefore I would like to highlight before you all records that are appropriate to be computerized are within a reasonable time and subject to availability of resources. 16 years since the law was enacted, today all offices, including village panchayats, have got computers and have got net connectivity. So that has happened. But the promise has not been translated. What could happen, share a vision I'd like to share with you is, today a paper file moves from place to place, from city to city. And in that, lots of mischief can occur. All that takes a lot of resource and time. On the other hand, on a computer, whatever wants to be written can be written. A digital signature can be made. And an electronic file can transfer from office to office. If something has to travel across the nation to 10 states, it can happen in less than 5 minutes. And the answers can be obtained in less than an hour. The way the paper file system moves is, first and foremost, it leads to lots of corruption. I can bet 30% of India's corruption would go down if we went for a paperless office situation, which should happen. The default mode, I imagine, would be that all work done in an office by evening would be on the internet web for people to see, except what is exempt. Registrar Saab mentioned about the problems of a lot of RT applications and misuse of RT application, as he calls it. If what I am suggesting was done, which was the promise of Section 4, RTI applications would not be necessary. What happens to people who cannot look at the web or who are not equipped to look at the web? They may still apply under RTI. The PIO, it should be simple to just take a printout from the web and give it to him. This is a possibility which has not been enacted, which has not been used, and therefore we complain. If we disregard paper files, if we do away with paper files and only use electronic files, A, we would save a few thousand crores of rupees of money. B, paper requires trees to be cut. My rough guess is if all government offices stopped using paper, it would probably save a few million trees every year. We talk of environment, we fight for 1,000 trees and 100 trees. Millions of trees are cut to supply paper for government offices. And C, space for keeping these papers would not be required. The benefits are immense. It would be a truly transparent government by design, and it will be far more efficient and with lesser corruption. Unfortunately, this has not happened, and people are still blaming citizens for asking for information and harassing them. Section 4, slow to disclosures, 17 points, the heart of the RTI Act, unsatisfactory implementation. The implementation has been completely unsatisfactory. Computerization, I would submit, is the key. Computerization in a proper manner. And people say it can't be done in government. As an information commissioner, last 2 years of my tenure, I ran a paperless office, and it's a dream to do that. Proper implementation could improve working efficiency. It would also make the PI's job easier. Over 50% applications seek information which should be available under Section 4. Okay, fair enough. We know who has to give, which authority has to give information, but who do I ask for information? The law clearly defines and says every public authority shall designate as many officers as PIOs in all administrative units or offices under it as may be necessary to provide information to persons requesting for information under this Act. Every administrative unit of a department must have a PIO. You don't have to worry who the PIO is. You just address your RT application to the public information officer at an office where you believe the information is likely to be. I repeat, where you believe. Think about it logically, and you may have the right answer. Supposing you are not able to land up with the right answer. Supposing you ask the municipal corporation for some information which was actually with the police department. If it is within the municipal corporation, the law says the PIO must take the assistance of other officers and provide the information. If it is in a completely different department, as I mentioned the case, suppose the municipal corporation and the police department, the Act, the RT application cannot be returned to you saying, ye le lo. You are the sovereign of this nation, you are the Badshah or Begum. The PIO is required to transfer the RT application within 5 days to the right department. And from there, within 30 days, you should get the information. Therefore, this is very well defined. Request for obtaining information. A person who desires to obtain any information under this Act shall make a request in writing or through electronic means in English or Hindi or in the official language of the area in which the application is being made. The application no forms are required. Any plain piece of paper is your form. You can have a handwritten application, you can have a computer generated or typewritten application. The language used will be the local language of the state, English or Hindi. The response will be in the language suitable to the office. You cannot insist that the response should be in a language that I desire. An applicant making request for information shall be required to give, not be required to give any reason for requesting the information or any other personal details except those that may be necessary for contacting him. A lot of people in power say this is a very unreasonable condition. There should be a locus standi. There should be a reason why. Please understand. Right to information is a fundamental right of citizens under Article 19(1)(a). Under Article 19(1)(a), the right to free speech, right to publish, and right to information all fall under the same category. If I have to give reasons for seeking information, tomorrow I'll be asked to give reasons for speaking or to publish anything. Therefore, it is unacceptable. I own the information that should be made available to me. I need no locus standi. Information belongs to me. The government officers are holding the information on my behalf, your behalf, individually, not as a mass of people. On receipt of a request under Section 6, PIO shall, as expeditiously as possible, in any case within 30 days of the receipt of the request, either provide the information on payment of such fee as may be prescribed or reject the request for any of the reasons specified in Sections 8 and 9. Nobody can say this is confidential information, hence I will not give it. If the exemptions are given in Section 8 and 9, Section 9 covers copyright. So I'm not dealing with that. For example, if you were to ask the censor board for a copy of a DVD certified by it would not be given because it would infringe somebody's copyright. If you ask for a photocopy of a book in a library, in a government library or in a college library, it will not be given to you because it would be infringing copyright. Apart from that, Section 8 has 10 exemptions, which we will deal with in a little while. Except that all information belongs to you. It is not defined what information has to be given. What may not be given is defined, and the rest, because you are the owner, default mode is you should get the information. If PIO fails to give decision on the request for information within the period specified under subsection 1, a PIO shall be deemed to have refused the request. If in 30 days you get no response, it means the information request has been refused, and that means it's been refused without any reasons, and this invites the penal provisions of the law. Now, there's a fee structure. Let me simply explain this in this manner. When you give the RT application, supposing the information is 100 pages, typically there's a fee for applying. In most states and in the central government, the fee is 10 rupees for an application. And to give information, the fee is typically 2 rupees per page. In most cases, there are a few exceptions. So supposing the information is 200 pages, the PIO must inform you that please pay 2 rupees into 200 pages, 400 rupees. And the period from there until the period you pay the fees is the clock doesn't move. I'll explain that in the next slide. Person making request for information shall be provided the information free of charge where a public authority fails to comply with the timeline specified in subsection 1. If within 30 days the information is not provided for any reason, the information fee cannot be charged from you. That is, for example, if it is 1,000 pages, 2,000 rupees cannot be charged to you. It has to be given without any charge. 30-day period, I would like to explain in a little different manner. PIO receives RT application is day 1. The day you make the RT applications is not day 1. The day the PIO's office receives the application is day 1. After X days, PIO sends letter asking additional fees, 30-day clock stops. Additional fees paid, 30-day clock starts. Information sent after Y days, X plus Y less than or equal to 30 days. If RT application is transferred, the period becomes 35 days. Now, here are a good RT application is focused. Think of what record may exist and seek that record or an extract of that record. I'm giving you a few things. A good RT application, the information seeking should normally be less than 150 words. And I'm giving you some examples of my own RT applications, which will explain, and you can see the purpose to it. There's a purpose generally in your mind. You don't have to disclose it. But in your mind, there is something you are trying, either you want some information just for the sake of information or for the sake of research, or because you suspect something wrong is happening, or you want to expose something. Now, this is One, I want a photocopy of the layout approval and the building proposal given for three-phase improvements at Burley, close to Mahakali Narla. As per the approved plan, the distance of the buildings from the Mahakali Narla. If there's been any violation of the construction, if any action has been initiated, I want a copy of the letter by which the action has been initiated. You can see it is driving towards some purpose. Number two, I want a copy of the minutes of the meeting of the public hearing or Gram Sabha held on 15/7/2019, along with the file notings and comments of the officers. Three, if there are any norms for inspection and maintenance of roads, I want a copy of the same and designation of officers responsible. And then there is four. This presentation will be shared with all of you, so I'm not going through all of these. If you want to inspect, you need to make a slightly different thing. Some states have got formats. Some states don't. The central government has no format, so it can be just like a simple letter saying application and the right to information. In some states, there is a format, which I'll give you the Maharashtra format, and you will have to look up the format of the respective state. But if you want to inspect files, here's the suggested format. I want to inspect files relating to whatever subject. I will bring Mr. So-and-so to assist me in the inspection. Please suggest 2 dates and a time at which I could come for the inspection. I will identify the documents for which I want photocopies at the time of inspection. Please ensure that the pages of the files are numbered. When you go for an inspection, the pages must be numbered, failing which some pages could be removed and you will not know. RT application, information in 30 days. If no response provided or unsatisfactory response, first appeal to be filed within 30 days of response or 60 days in case of no response. Who do I file the appeal with? The law requires the public information officer to inform you about the details of the first appellate authority. Supposing the PI has not responded at all, or he does not give me the details of the first appellate authority, then what do I do? A simple technique is to frame a first appeal to the first appellate authority, care of public information officer at the same address. And below that, say that it was the responsibility of the public information officer to give me the details of the first appellate authority. Since this has not been done, it is now his responsibility to pass it on to the first appellate authority. First appellate authority is an officer senior in rank to the PIO in the same department. First appellate authority order after hearing within 45 days. If unsatisfactory order or no response, second appeal to commission within 90 days of first appellate authority's order or 120 days from date of first appeal if no order received from first appellate authority. For state government bodies, each state has a state information commission. For central government bodies, there is a Central Information Commission in Delhi, of which I was a commissioner at one time. Now, I'm showing you, after this, we are going to do a small exercise of actually framing the RTI application, and I'm sure some of you will be able to do it. This is the format for Maharashtra. For central government, you can use this, or you can just make it like a simple letter. For each state, the rules are different. You will have to look up the rules of the state, which you can easily access from the website. This is an actual RT application that was filed. This gives a format for Maharashtra, as I said. If a state has no format, you can use this format if you like. Crucial is, think of what is information. Information is what is on record. It is not a grievance redressal mechanism, though sometimes it does act as a grievance redressal mechanism. This is the story of a young boy, 22 years of age, educational qualification, 7th standard pass, who had come to Mumbai. Where did he stay? He stayed in a hut with an uncle of his, the Jopda. While he was going around trying to find contacts to get a job, he was told that there is an RTI workshop in the Basti. He also went and sat down. He had nothing to do. Attended the workshop like the one we are doing just now. Understood what is the right to information. Understood that it means seeking information that is on record. Understood that it does not need any form and that a 10 rupee fee has to be paid, which can be done in Maharashtra by reading postal order. In some states, there are different ways in which you can pay the 10 rupees. Then he moved on. He got a job. After that, he required something that at that time was very important, especially for the poor, a ration card. So he went to the rationing office, gave his application. As he was going out of the door, the peon accosted him and said, "Aapko ration card chahiye kya?" He said, "हाँ भाई, इसीलिए तो फॉर्म भरे." The peon said, "चाय पानी लगेगा." The boy said, "ठीक है, आपको चाय पिला दूंगा." The peon said, "चाय पानी का मतलब चाय पिलाना नहीं है." He said, "Then what do you mean?" He said, "You'll have to give 2,000 rupees. Only then will you get your ration card." This boy, without batting an eyelid, made a statement that always makes me feel proud. He said, "मैं घूस नहीं दूंगा. I shall not give a bribe." The peon said, "Stupid chap coming from a village. तेरे को इस जिंदगी में राशन कार्ड नहीं मिलेगा. तू जा जाते हो, राशन कार्ड की जरूरत ही नहीं." The boy did nothing. He found out in the basti that people come from villages and they were all used to file for a ration card and get their ration cards by giving a bribe in about 30 to 45 days time. He waited 3 months, continued with his job. After 3 months, he gave this RT application. What he wanted to know is, why have I not got my ration card? But he framed it in a very simple but elegant manner. I had given an application for ration card on 5th August 2006. Photocopy of receipt attached. I want the following information about its progress in the following format. Date on which application received, name and designation of the officer receiving it, action taken, date on which forwarded to next officer. There will be as many rows as the number of officers who handle the application. Attested photocopies of all letters and notings will be provided. 2. I want a list of ration cards issued in the last 2 months, giving the dates on which the applications were made and the dates on which the ration cards were issued. Now they had to give information on records. What could they say? Your file has not moved at all, क्योंकि चाय पानी नहीं दिया. That would expose corruption. Or if they gave this information, it would be paper trail of corruption. So next day, the same peon came to his house and said, "आपको सामने बुलाया है." This boy went there. The officer, as soon as he saw him, said, "अरे ये आए हैं, इनके लिए कुर्सी लेके आओ और इनका राशन कार्ड लेके आओ और एक कप चाय और एक गिलास पानी लेके आओ." He did not give chai pani, he got chai pani instead. And to me, that one cup of tea is far more significant than anything else, because it is respect for the sovereign citizen of India. वो एक कप चाय, वो भारत के नागरिक को जो रिस्पेक्ट मिलना चाहिए, वो रिस्पेक्ट का चिन्ह था. I repeat, RTI is not a grievance redressal system, but quite often it does work like that. This almost similar technique has been used for getting information about various applications, progress of complaints, representations. Similar things are framed. Income tax refunds have been obtained like this, and so on and so forth. Now, before we go into the small exercise, I want to share with you this simple thing from the Indian Constitution. RTI is a fundamental right of citizens under Article 19(1)(a), which guarantees freedom of speech and expression. Various Supreme Court's judgments have held that this includes right to information and right to publish. Pause for a while. I want you to ask yourselves. We say the fourth estate is the fourth pillar of democracy. Why is the fourth pillar of democracy so important to a nation? In the Constitution of India, the media or press is not mentioned. It is not mentioned in the fundamental right. In fact, in Bennett Coleman went to the Supreme Court saying that there were some restrictions on the newsprint, and they said it's our business. And the Supreme Court said this is a business like any other business. Therefore, there's nothing special about it. But it is important because it is the medium through which citizens get information. Simple logic. If media's importance is because it is the medium through which I get information, what comes first, my right to information or media's right? It goes without saying. I'm not saying the right to publish is not important, but right to publish cannot be more important than right to information, cannot be more important than right to free speech. And if RTI is hit, the others will follow. The freedom to publish, the freedom to free speech will follow. Therefore, it is necessary to defend right to information completely. Now, can any restrictions be put on my fundamental right? The restrictions have to be laid out in the Constitution of India. The only permissible restrictions are given in Article 19.2. The Constitution of India says certain permissible restrictions are there, which permits reasonable restrictions in the interest of the sovereignty and integrity of India, the security of the state, friendly relations with foreign states, public order, decency or morality, or in relation to contempt of court, defamation or incitement to an offence. Next, we'll take a look at the exemptions into Section 8.1. But if, in case of doubt, you should refer to Article 19.2 to see what information can be denied to the citizen of India. It cannot go beyond Article 19.2. Having said this, we'll pause for a while. My request is, friends, now, in a webinar, I've never done this before, but we are trying it now. I'll stop screen sharing and I'll resume screen sharing again. In your own minds, please, with a pen and paper, hopefully, even without a pen and paper, think of some information you would like to obtain. And I would request the moderator or whoever it is to identify those who frame this, let them raise their hands in Zoom. And the moderator can pick 5 of them and we'll discuss their RT applications. I'll now pause for 5 minutes. And who is the moderator of this?
Yes, sir, I'll be moderating.
Thanks. Me, I was worried. I said, "Sab log so gaye kya?"
No, sir.
Not at all, sir. It's very interesting.
No, that's okay. So I'm requesting all participants, try and frame your RTI queries, and as soon as you frame your RTI query in your mind or on paper, make it short, focus it on some specific thing, identify kisko aap puchenge, which authority you will ask, and then I'll request some of you to read out and see if we can clarify this matter. I'm going to pause for a while now.
Okay, participants, please draft one application. Those who are interested to learn something, as I have said, that learning by doing. So this is the real workshop.
Please raise your hand. I think आपको raise hand का option है ना सबको?
Yes,
Raise your
sir.
hand and then the moderator pick 5 of them. But in 5 minutes, we'll then start the next session. Come on, all of you are young, bright people. मैं तो 74 साल का बुड्ढा हूँ. All of you can do it much better than me.
Okay, good. Ashish, Kajal, Raman, Gurpreet, Mehtab, and Shri. So many people are there. Please start drafting.
You just select 5. Please select
We'll
5.
wait for 5 minutes and then we can start asking them.
Okay.
No, if some people have already framed them, let's start with them. We can do more than 5 if time permits. Go ahead. Start with whoever it is.
Okay, sir. So we'll start with Ashish Saha.
उनको अनम्यूट कीजिए मेरे ख्याल से.
Yes, sir. Hello, sir.
Yes, आशीष बताइए.
Yes, sir. So, my question was to ask to the Panchayat Secretary about what he has done for the road. What amount has been sanctioned by the government for the rural road development?
Wonderful. Address to the Public Information Officer, Jan Mahiti Adhikari of the Panchayat. Very nice. And you can ask for copies of sanction if any, if you like, if you want to ask for that. And maybe you may want to ask about what action has been taken to implement the sanction. Very good. Next.
You are not audible. Aditya, you are not audible.
Yes, sir. Mehtab Alam. I have unmuted him.
हाँ हेलो.
मेहताब जी.
हाँ सर, मैं ये पता करना चाहूँगा अपनी पंचायत से कि प्रधानमंत्री आवास योजना के तहत मेरी पंचायत में इन 5 सालों के अंदर कितने लोगों को घर मिला है?
नहीं, आप सेंटेंस बोलिए कि ये पूछूंगा मैं।
How many persons have got homes under प्रधानमंत्री ग्राम आवास योजना?
Wonderful. Next query can also be, I want names of people who have been given this, because that will help you to identify अगर कोई गलत उसमें नाम है तो. Wonderful. All of you are becoming experts in RTI. Next friend.
Raman Dhensa.
Next बादशाह बोले भाई देश के.
Yes, I have muted her. Okay, we can move to the next. Anchit Jain.
Good morning, sir. My name is Anchit Jain.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Your voice is not audible.
Am I audible, sir?
Anchit, your voice is breaking.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Now you are audible.
Okay, sir. Good morning, sir. My name is Anchit Jain. I previously worked with Professor H.R. and Shri Rahul Singh at MPSIC. Sir, I filed a RTI application during this COVID times for obtaining the information that what remedies have been taken by the government for ensuring the right to information during these times of COVID, because we all are not capable of moving out of our homes during these times. Sir, I specifically drafted this RTI application and following were the queries. If you may allow me to read, then may I?
Sure. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. So, sir, the RTI application was like this: in the light of ongoing pandemic of COVID,
आपका वॉइस बीच में जा रहा है दोस्त. अंचित.
आपकी वॉइस ब्रेक कर रही है.
am I clear now?
नहीं, आई थिंक आपकी नेटवर्क की प्रॉब्लम है थोड़ी सी, ऐसा लग रहा है. Let's try once more.
Sure.
Keep it as brief as you can.
Sure, sir.
रीड कीजिए अजीत, पढ़िए. अजीत बोलिए.
Yeah, I think नेटवर्क की प्रॉब्लम है.
उनकी नेटवर्क प्रॉब्लम है.
If not permitted in the above query, then if any steps and actions have been taken for filing the RTI application amid the COVID-19 pandemic, considering the lockdown norms and restrictions on the movement. Third, please inform, considering the lockdown imposed for controlling the COVID-19 pandemic situation, sometimes the statutory officers also remain shutting down. Hence, it is not always possible to visit and file the RTI applications. Please provide the alternative arrangements that have been developed for filing the RTI application during these COVID pandemic times. Fifth, please inform if the enforcement of Section 6(1) of the RTI Act, by which the establishment of electronic means for filing the RTI applications have been considered as an option or not. Sir, I filed this RTI application specifically for sounding that whether any means through the electronic platform have been considered by the government or not. And I received the reply of CPIO, which says that the information is not available with the department. I filed this information.
No, just a minute. See, one thing in such queries, normally it is useful to put is, if no action has been taken, this should be stated. The PIO is not responsible whether action took place or not. PIO is expected to tell you कि action लिया या नहीं लिया. अगर कोई record पे कोई action नहीं है, तो उसको उतना ही बताना है. It is useful to put in a line. You've used the RTI very well, but put in one line in these cases. Otherwise, he says मेरे पास information नहीं है.
Right, sir.
Let him commit कि कोई action नहीं लिया है. तो अगर record पे कुछ नहीं है, तो नहीं action लिया है.
Sir, the reply CPIO gave was that the information is not available with the Department of Personnel and Training, DOPT. Sir,
Right.
What I feel is that they're excluded from answering this question in the light of Section 6(1), which says that there should be a platform of electronic means for filing the RTI applications.
I understand. So if no action has been taken, that's what I'm saying. आपने अगर लिखा होता कि the PI is not right in the way he's given an answer to you, he should say no action has been taken. But to elicit that, the other way around is to say, if there's nothing on record, this should be stated. If a PR says there's nothing on record, that is an acknowledgement कि हमने कुछ नहीं किया है. Okay. But very well, आप सचमुच बादशाह बन गए इस देश के. सलाम आपको.
Sir, it's all because of people like you. I work with Professor Acharul. That's why.
Next.
Rasool Shekhar.
अरे ये
Sir.
पार्टिसिपेंट में सब बादशाह ही हैं क्या? बेगम कोई नहीं है? हाँ, go ahead, please.
Sir, I had filed an RTI online. The points were that provide certified copies of file notings, orders, minute of meeting, action taken report, correspondences and communications made till date of the reply of RTI application, along with minute of meeting held relating to implementation of directions of Honorable Central Information Commission in Subhash Chandra Agarwal versus Indian National Congress and others. The second point was that what are the steps taken by CIC in order to have a check whether its orders are being enforced or not. The third point was that are there any powers conferred to CIC to take any action where the order is not enforced despite the pendency of long period. In this case, it was 7 years. So the reply which I got was quite shocking. I had mentioned the Manupatra citation of the case Subhash Chandra Agarwal versus Indian National Congress and others. The reply which I got was that in connection it is stated that the file number written by you in your RTI application is not found on the Commission's website. I had mentioned the Manupatra citation and they considered it as a file noting. So I have filed a first appeal against this particular order.
So normally you should ask for the file, talk of the number of the commission. I think in that respect they are right. But they are only creating more work for themselves. They should have said कि we understand that this is the file number. वो जवाब होना चाहिए था. Actually हुआ ये है कि this matter was brought up before the commission and the commission has effectively said, and I don't blame them. See, beyond a certain point, अगर बहुत powerful bodies जो हैं, वो अगर कानून नहीं follow करेंगे, so it is very difficult for anyone, including the Supreme Court of India, to do anything. If the Prime Minister doesn't listen, what do you do? आपके यूनिवर्सिटी में अगर वाइस चांसलर गलत काम करें तो उनको कैसे आप रोकें? कोई कानून नहीं काम करता उस केस में. In this case, you raised a very valid query. Unfortunately, the truth is that the powerful 6 political parties have acted like ruffians and said कि हम कानून नहीं follow करेंगे, which is very sad.
So the case is still pending before the Supreme Court, but I want to know your comments on this particular issue.
The case has been Supreme Court में case pending से कुछ नहीं होता. There is no stay on the Commission's order. Commission के order में कोई stay नहीं है. Until a stay is obtained, if you do not do as per the law, as per a statutory body's order, you are defying the law. You are breaking the law, and that is what 6 major political parties of my nation are doing. वो गुंडों के जैसे काम कर रहे हैं कि नहीं हम नहीं करेंगे. अब उसको कैसे कोई हाथ लगाए? कांग्रेस, बीजेपी, सोशलिस्ट पार्टी, इनको कौन जाके कुछ कर सकता है? कोई नहीं कर सकता है. Anyway, wonderful. You are now, आप सब कुछ बादशाह बन रहे हैं.
No sir, no sir.
Yes, next.
Achal Rana. I have asked her to unmute.
Achal, are you there? Achal Rana.
Okay, we can move to next, Kanika.
Okay, this will be the last one, then we'll start the presentation again.
Good morning, everyone. Like, I'm not an expert or any expert in this, but just a beginner. So I'll ask about the vaccination. There is so much of delay, slots. We aren't getting slots. So I would like to ask that what stock is being dispatched, to what areas it's being dispatched, and how many, and the people to it, and to the people to whom it is being given. So the process is given a little push up, and even if it is the places which are decided for the vaccination, for providing the vaccination, or if it is government's delay, just to check that.
Wonderful, Kanika. You are the Begum of this nation. इसको आप फ्रेम करके जरूर पूछिएगा. It's a very good question, query you are asking, very vital information. Do ask for this information. Congratulations, and now we'll go back to the presentation. Thank you. Thanks to all of you for participating. I'm going to share the screen again. Okay, shall we begin?
Yes,
Can you see the screen? Can you all see the screen?
Yes, sir, we can see.
Okay. Okay. Exemption from disclosure of information, section 8(1). As I said, apart from copyright, the only 10 exemptions of 8(1) count, nothing else counts. Notwithstanding anything contained in this act, there shall be no obligation to give any citizen information disclosure of which would prejudicially affect the sovereignty and integrity of India, the security, strategic, scientific, economic interests of the state, relation with foreign state, or lead to incitement of an offense. A PR must identify which one of these interests is likely to be heard. As an example, supposing incidentally the Indian Army is a public authority as defined in the act and therefore has to give information. Supposing you said, I want details of the troops on the China border. That would not be given to you because of this. Similarly, other things of a nature which will lead to incitement of an offense will not be given. B. Information which has been expressly forbidden to be published by any court of law or tribunal, the disclosure of which may constitute contempt of court. Quite often, PIOs refuse information saying the matter is sub judice, hence we will not give information, which is wrong, which is not as per the law. The law did not say sub judice matters are exempt. Parliament ko sub judice shabd pata tha. What Parliament has said is information which has been expressly forbidden to be published by any court of law or tribunal. Therefore, if somebody claims exemption under section 8(1)(b), asks for a specific order of a court or tribunal saying that information ye nahi dene ki. Otherwise, information has to be given. Sub judice cannot be a ground for action. C. Information, the disclosure of which would cause a breach of privilege of Parliament or the state legislature. What kind of information would this be? For example, before the budget is presented, if you ask for information regarding the budget papers, that would be breach of privilege of Parliament or state legislature. Commissions of inquiry are set up quite often, and uske baad wo jab report dete hain, the law requires, the Commission of Inquiry Act requires that within 6 months, the report should be placed on the floor of the legislature or the Parliament. Very often, governments don't put it on the floor of the Parliament or state legislature. In such cases, after the expiry of 6 months, you can ask, but in the first 6 months, it is covered by this exemption. Information including commercial confidence, trade secrets, or intellectual property, the disclosure of which would harm the competitive position of a third party. There is a larger public interest override, which we'll deal with later together. Therefore, to claim exemption to section 8(1)(d), it must have two criteria. It should be in the nature of commercial confidence or trade secret, which means something you will not easily share publicly, and the disclosure should harm somebody's competitive position. To give an example, if you ask for information relating to Bank of India from Reserve Bank, which is likely to hurt the commercial interest, they could claim this and say it should not be given. But if information was regarding Indian Railways cannot claim this exemption because there is no competition. For a tender, before a tender is awarded, this can be claimed. After a tender is awarded, it cannot be claimed and information has to be provided. Information available to information available to a person is fiduciary relationship. What is a fiduciary? As I told you, the public interest clause we'll deal with later. What is a fiduciary relationship? There's a lot of confusion on this. In simple terms, लोग बोलते हैं faith होना चाहिए, trust होना चाहिए, तो fiduciary बन गया. नहीं, that's a wrong way of looking at it. A traditional fiduciary relationship is doctor-patient, lawyer-customer, banker-customer, and so on. In these relationships, what is the characteristic? Somebody gives information about himself or herself to somebody with superior knowledge on a particular topic. He gives it for his benefit. If I go to a doctor and give information regarding my health, it is for my benefit. If I go to a lawyer and give information about myself, it is for my benefit. He is obliged not to share with the information with anybody else, but I can share it with anybody. If he gives me advice, I can share it with any number of people. So fiduciary relationship is a one-way relationship. 2, I have a choice of whom to give the information to. I can choose my doctor, banker, etc. 3, there's no legal compulsion for me to give the information. I can go to my lawyer. I may not give complete information and ask him to represent me, which may not be good for my case. But in a fiduciary relationship, that choice is mine. 99% of the information in government records is not held in a fiduciary relationship. In most cases, because of a regulatory requirement, information is parted to the government, and this is not a fiduciary relationship at all. And on this, incidentally, I had given 10 decisions as a Central Information Commissioner on fiduciary relationship following this logic to the Reserve Bank of India, which refused to give details of NPAs, audit reports of banks, and so on. And these were all 10 orders were upheld by the Supreme Court of India. So what I'm telling you in terms of fiduciary is a very respected decision. Information received in confidence from foreign government. Notice carefully, this is the only place where the word confidence or confidentiality is used. If information is received from a foreign government and the government says this was given in confidence, no further argument is necessary. One has to respect that. That is the basis on which Rafale deal details have not been given by government, saying that this is information received in confidence from foreign government. G, information the disclosure of which would endanger the life or physical safety of any person, or identify the source of information or assistance given in confidence for law enforcement or security purposes. If any information would endanger somebody's life or physical safety, then such information would not be given. H, information which would impede the process of investigation or apprehension or prosecution of offenders. Quite often, people have given a complaint to police or some other authority, and they feel nothing is happening, so they ask for details. And Section 81H is claimed wrongly. What is information that can be refused? The law did not say information in an ongoing investigation. It said which would impede the process of investigation. So it has to be established how giving the information would impede the process of investigation. Otherwise, information has to be given. And in most cases, when somebody is a complainant, it would be laughable to claim that he is going to impede the process of investigation. Cabinet papers, including records of deliberations of the councils of ministers, secretaries, and other officers, provided that the decisions of councils of ministers, the reasons thereof, and the material on the basis of which the decisions were taken, shall be made public after the decision has been taken and the matter is complete or over. This is a very interesting exemption and a very unique exemption. It says up to a certain point in time, information is exempt. Cabinet papers, etc., until a decision is taken. But once a decision is taken, the basis is that all material must be put into suo motu into public domain. For example, all bills that are presented by government to parliament, up to a point they take the decision, it is exempt from disclosure. But once the bill is presented in parliament, then the decision has been taken and the basis on which the decision was taken, the deliberations and file notings must be put into public domain. The idea of a democracy is where things are put into public domain, citizens can also argue about it. We have members of parliament or members of state legislature. Yes, we've authorized them. We give them legitimacy. But the whole idea of democracy is that we are able to discuss the pros and cons. And a consequence of that, the parliament may take decisions keeping in mind citizens' views. Section 81J, this is the most popular and misused exemption of all. Information which relates to personal information, the disclosure of which has no relationship to any public activity or interest, or which would cause unwarranted invasion of the privacy of the individual. The larger public interest, as I said, we'll deal with later. provided that the information which cannot be denied to the parliament or state legislature shall not be denied to any person. This is the only exemption to which such a proviso has been kept. Quite often people deny information saying this is personal information, hence will not be. Your name is personal, your age is personal, color of your hair is personal, application that you make is personal. It relates to a natural person. But just because it is personal information, it may qualify to be under 8(1)(j provided one of these conditionalities is satisfied. The disclosure has no relationship to any public activity or interest. Most information in government records is the consequence of a public activity. If I apply for a license, I apply for a job, I apply for something, it's a public activity. Otherwise, the information need not be in government. Then what is not covered? For example, supposing there's a raid in my house, or I forget a briefcase in a government office, and that has some nude photographs. That is not a public activity. My medical records are in my house, and if they are taken, and the record may be held in the government, but that's not a public activity. Or which would cause unwarranted invasion of the privacy of an individual. Now we have a funny situation. What is privacy? A 9-judge bench of the Supreme Court held that privacy is a fundamental right of citizens. बहुत लंबा judgment है. If you read the whole judgment, you do not get an inclination of what is privacy. Everything is not privacy. Your application to a government job is not privacy. Your marks are not privacy. In my opinion, you should refer to Article 19(2) of the Indian Constitution, where there are only two words which relate to privacy: decency or morality. If something violates decency or morality, it should not be given in RTI. And therefore, the proviso, it was realized in framing the law that it would be difficult for PIOs to decide, or even information commissions, what is privacy. Therefore, a proviso was given, provided that the information which cannot be denied to the parliament or state legislature shall not be denied to any person. So anybody who claims exemption under 8(1)(j) must say this is a public activity or not a public activity. This is invasion on privacy or not an invasion on privacy. And I would not give this information to parliament or state legislature. If it violates decency or morality, it should not be given by, and this declaration must be made by the PIO, First Appellate Authority, Commissioner or Judge, before whom the matter is. Whoever claims exemption under 8(1)(j) must make this declaration that I would not give this information to parliament or state legislature. 8(2). Notwithstanding anything in the Official Secrets Act, nor any of the exemptions permissible in accordance with subsection 1, a public authority may allow access to information if public interest in disclosure outweighs the harm to a protected interest. Note carefully, there is no requirement of public interest for getting information. You own the information. However, if an exemption applies, an exemption is supposed to protect certain interests from harm, which the law and the Constitution believe should be protected. But if you argue that there is a larger public interest in disclosure, it may be considered. Only then do you have to show larger public interest. As an example, I would give you, for example, Mehul Choksi's case. If you ask Punjab National Bank for details of his account, it may be denied, saying the information is held in a fiduciary relationship. But you could argue that there is a larger scandal and therefore there is a larger public interest in disclosure, and it could be considered and information may be provided. But larger public interest needs to be established only and only when an exemption applies. If no exemption applies, no public interest needs to be established. No reason needs to be established at all. Section 19, appeal. First appeal to First Appellate Authority within 30 days for not getting information, incomplete information or wrong information. First Appellate Authority should decide in 30/45 days. It is 30 days, but he can take another 15 days by giving reasons. If result of first appeal not satisfactory, file second appeal to the Commission within 90 days. Section 19(5) says, onus on PIO the denial of information was justified. The law does not require you, the sovereign, to justify why you want information. ये मेरा है, मेरे घर का कबाट है, मैं खोल सकता हूँ, मुझे information चाहिए, reason देने की कोई जरूरत नहीं है. मगर अगर PIO मेरे अधिकार को नहीं मानता है, तो he has to give a reason why information was denied. I don't have to give any reason. The law is very clear. It recognizes the sovereignty of the individual. Appeal. carefully look at the response and see if information has been provided. Information can be denied if it is not available anywhere. If it is available with another office, it must be obtained and given. If it is with a different department, the application should be transferred. Or if it is exempt under section 8 or 9. These are the only reasons why information could be denied. Section 20. This is the teeth of the act. If the information is denied without reasonable cause, Commission must penalize the PIO, deemed PIO at rupees 250 per day of delay after giving an opportunity of explaining. Maximum penalty rupees 25,000. Commission can also recommend disciplinary action against the officer and compensation to be paid to applicant. ये दांत है इस act के. Otherwise, the act would have fallen by the wayside. This act establishes the sovereignty of the individual. A sovereign citizen of this nation asks information which belonged to him, and if it was illegitimately denied to him, the public servant may have to pay a penalty up to 25,000 rupees. Section 22. The provisions of this act shall have effect notwithstanding anything inconsistent therewith contained in the Official Secrets Act or any other law for the time being in force, or in any instrument having effect by virtue of any law other than this act. A lot of rights of people get into confusion when matters go for adjudication, because somebody says Company Act ऐसे कहता है, somebody else says banking law ऐसा कहता है, somebody says RBI law ऐसा कहता है. So this is a conflict between laws. Section 22 categorically states that the provisions of this act override all earlier laws as far as giving of information is concerned. So therefore, neither the Official Secrets Act nor any other law can be brought in to say Supreme Court rules ये कहते हैं, RBI rules ये कहते हैं, सवाल ही नहीं पैदा होता. RTI rights over all of these by virtue of Section 22. Now, I'd like to give you an example of an RTI application and first appeal to explain the process, and also to tell you how powerful it can be. This is a case of my own RTI application. Lots of applications have been filed by many people who have led to powerful results. This I'm giving an example of my own. The background to this was one fine day in Times of India. On the front page, I saw a photograph of citizens demonstrating at a place called Marine Drive in Mumbai because one police constable More had raped a minor. On the same day, on page 5, there was a small news item. The small news item said Police Inspector Prakash Avre of Mumbai Police had raped a minor the earlier year. The evidence was clear. Prakash Avre was suspended from service. Case was filed. Adequate evidence was not put up, and therefore he was discharged and not convicted. He was acquitted. And the police was reinstating him in service. I felt angry when I read this. All of us feel angry. I said, let me use right to information. And this is what I did. Description of the information required. According to this report in the Times of India dated 29th April 06, Inspector Prakash Avre was accused of raping a minor girl in September 2005. He was acquitted by the Sessions Court in February and has been reinstated in service. I did not say why, aap kyo isko kar rahe ho, ye galat hai, kuch nahi. I want a photocopy of the order reinstating him along with the fine notice based on which the decision was taken. Now, when I filed this RT application, I was just an average citizen of Mumbai or of India. I was not an information commissioner. I became an information commissioner much later. The PIO rejected this RT application. And I filed a first appeal, which I'd like to show you. Also to briefly explain the elements of first appeal. This is the first appeal. The grounds of appeal, facts of the case. I had asked for information regarding the reinstatement of Inspector Prakash Avre as per the attached application. PIO first sent me a letter stating that the information will be provided by Bhaikara Police Station. The PIO Bhaikara replied by his letter of 16/5 that the information could not be provided as it was exempt under Section 8(1)(h), which exempts information which would impede the process of investigation or apprehension or prosecution of offenders. Grounds for appeal. PIO has not shown how providing the information could impede any investigation. In fact, no investigation is being held since Prakash Avre has been reinstated. The rejection is without any basis in law. Normally, for a first hearing, you are called for a hearing. And incidentally, right now we are trying to enforce virtual hearings in all first appeals in Maharashtra and elsewhere. Anyway, I was called for a first appellate hearing. I went for the first appeal hearing. A very good Deputy Commissioner of Police was there. He said, Mr. Gandhi, what could we do? The court has, he said, I understand what you are getting at. Well, what could we do? The police inspector has been let off by the court. I said, sir, मैं तो record मांग रहा हूँ, मुझे record दे दीजिए. Citizens want to know what is the basis on which this chap was reinstated. We'll know the name of the officer who took the decision and the process. I explained to him, I said, sir, from my perspective, there are two possibilities. A, either Prakash Avare is guilty of the crime which he is stated to have been committed, in which case reinstating him is against the interests of citizens and the police force itself and the rule of law. Alternately, Prakash Avare was innocent. Then somebody framed him. किसी में तो एक्शन होना चाहिए. ये क्या बात हुई? Nobody killed Jessica Lal जैसी कहानी हो गई. The DCP saw the point I was making. And he said, Mr. Gandhi, let me see what I can do. In 20 days, I got it in writing from the police commissioner's office that Police Inspector Prakash Avare had been dismissed from service. That is the power of right to information that one citizen can do. One lone citizen can do. We can help government officers to follow the law to bring better governance. There are good government officers, but we must also support them. This is an example of how a good government officer performed because his attention was drawn to and highlighted. Summary for central government: no specified format for application and first appeals. Useful to use Maharashtra format or any other format. Application fee ₹10. Most convenient to attach an Indian postal order of ₹10. No fees for appeals. For second appeal, please check rules at CIC. Online RTA applications have also now been accepted in many states. And I've given the online web journeys also. Now, here I'd like to pause and share with you this simple thing. Do all RTA applications work? The answer is no. It doesn't happen. I'd be lying if I said all RTA applications result in something. According to my survey, all Indian citizens crib for about 2 to 3 hours each month about what is wrong with India. ये ठीक नहीं है, वो ठीक नहीं है, रास्ते ठीक नहीं है, वो पुलिस हफ्ता खाता है, ये होता है, पोल्यूशन है, पेड़ कटता है, नहीं कटता है, कानून के हिसाब से कोई चलता नहीं, अनऑथराइज्ड कंस्ट्रक्शन है, गुंडागर्दी चलती है, वगैरह वगैरह वगैरह. Does that cribbing change anything? It can change nothing. तो हम क्यों करते हैं? खैर, मे बी हमारे मेंटल एंड फिजिकल हेल्थ के लिए अच्छा एक्सरसाइज है क्रिब करना, आलोचना करना. My submission is an RTA application doesn't take more than half an hour at a time. Consider taking a vow to file one RTA application once a month, every month, on a matter that concerns you. You don't have to get together with anybody. One individual can file an RTA application. जो भी चीज आपको अखबारों में लगता है, टीवी में देखते हैं, जो गलत लग रहा है, कोशिश करके देखिए. You may or may not follow. You may or may not get the information. You may not follow it in appeals. My own assessment is that when the RTA Act started, about 30% of the RTA applications used to lead to some benefit in government, some improvement in governance. छोटा होता था, but होता था. Now I think it's come down to about 15-20%. लोग कहते हैं फायदा क्या? ये एप्लीकेशन करके क्या फायदा? A dream I'd like to share with you. If 50 lakh Indian citizens, and 50 lakh Indian citizens is not a very big figure. Each one of you is one individual. Take a vow. Ki we will file one RTA application once a month on a matter concerning us. उसके बाद अपील करना नहीं करना, इंफॉर्मेशन मिली नहीं मिली, उस पर हम काम करें या न भी करें. 6 crore RTA applications would be filed each year. If 15% of that leads to some result, 1 crore times a year, some improvement in governance will come about. And if 1 crore times some improvement in governance comes about in 5 to 10 years, India would be a different nation. Our state of democracy would be different. Respect for the individual citizen will be higher. Citizens will get empowered. यही मैं एक अगेन लाइव जब चलता था तब बात की है, तो मेरी उम्र के बुढ़ाऊ थे, उन्होंने खड़े होकर कहा कि गांधी सर आप ये ऐसे ही सबको गुमराह कर रहे हैं। मैंने 10 साल में कई आरटीआई एप्लीकेशंस की, कई कंप्लेंट्स की, कुछ नहीं होता है। इंडिया में कुछ होने वाला ही नहीं है, इंडिया में कुछ हो ही नहीं सकता है। ऐसे मित्रों को मैं कहता हूं, मोस्ट ऑफ अस go to mandirs, masjids, gurdwaras, agyaris, derasars, Jain derasars, whatever. Once a day, once a week, once a month, maybe once a year. When you go there and come out, do we have an extra 100 rupee note in our wallet? We don't. Do we think our hair has become better, we look more handsome, younger, एनर्जी आ गई, कुछ ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं होता है। तो why do we do it? We do it as an act of faith. We have faith that by doing this, something good will happen to me, my family, my friends, my society, my nation, whatever. It's an act of faith. जहाँ कोई पॉजिटिव हमें कोई लिंक नहीं दिखाई देती है, बट फिर भी हम श्रद्धा से वो कर लेते हैं। What do we do for the nation as an act of faith? Zero. ये एक्ट ऑफ फेथ की तरह नेशन के लिए कर लीजिए, मंदिर में जाने जैसा, मस्जिद में जाने जैसा ही इसको मान लीजिए कि एक आरटीआई एप्लीकेशन मैं करूंगा या करूंगी, और उससे देश में मुझे उसका असर दिखाई दे न दे, ओवरऑल इसकी असर होगी। एंड बिलीव इट कैन वर्क। यू द सॉवरेन्स ऑफ दिस नेशन आर रिस्पॉन्सिबल। इफ दिस नेशन इज नॉट बेटर, नॉट गुड, You and I are responsible. लोकशाही हमने कहा, डेमोक्रेसी हमने कहा, तो डेमोक्रेसी और लोकशाही का मतलब ये होता है कि हम कुछ करें। अगर हम नहीं करेंगे तो कोई नहीं करेगा, कोई आके नहीं बेटर करेगा इस देश को। हम पॉलिटिशियन को दोष देते रहे, पुलिस को दोष देते रहे, गवर्नमेंट सर्विस को दोष देते रहे, कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा। We must recognize that we are the sovereigns. Sovereigns also have to take responsibility. अकबर बादशाह या शिवाजी महाराज सिर्फ ये नहीं कहते थे मैं राजा हूं, अगर कुछ गलत होता था तो वो जिम्मेदारी लेते थे कि इसको ठीक करना है मुझे। तो बादशाह और बेगमों को ठीक करना है, आपके अधिकार हैं, उसको इस्तेमाल करें कानूनी तौर पे। नेक्स्ट एक है जो आज टाइम नहीं है, और जुडिशरी जिसको मैं मानता हूं बदल सकते हैं, देश को बदलने की कहीं ना कहीं खून में दौड़ना चाहिए। लोग कहते हैं कि आजकल देशभक्ति की बहुत बात चलती है, झंडे के सामने हम खड़े रह के जनगण मन गाएं, ये यूजफुल टोकन्स है, इससे देश नहीं बदलेगा। पूरा दिन अगर हम झंडे के सामने पूरा देश 8 घंटा ये खड़े होके जनगण मन गाएगा, वंदे मातरम गाएगा, तो देश में कोई बदलाव नहीं आएगा। ये यूजफुल टोकन्स है, इसको नहीं कहना नहीं कहता हूं, मगर उसके आगे देश को बदलने की कहीं चाह चाहिए, कहीं वो आग चाहिए पेट में। There must be a fire in the belly. I will change the nation. I will make the change. And one last slogan I'd like to share with you. Do take a look at this also. It's interesting, but anyway. मेरा भारत महान हम कई जगह कहते हैं, लिखते हैं, बोलते हैं, मगर हम मानते नहीं हैं। इसलिए मैं कहता हूं मेरा भारत महान नहीं है। मेरा भारत महान नहीं है, पर यह दोष मेरा है। I, the individual sovereign citizen of this nation, am responsible. मैं इस देश का नागरिक हूं, मैं इस देश का बादशाह हूं, और मेरी जिम्मेवारी है कि भारत को ठीक बनाऊं, और मैं बना सकता हूं। धन्यवाद। Thank you very much. Now we can open up for questions or whatever you would like to do.
Thank you so much, sir. It was great listening to you. We can move forward with questions. We have few questions in the chat box. The first question is from Anchit Jain. He asked that, sir, in the light of section 6 clause 1, information can be sought through electronic means. Thus, may and it be concluded that state is under mandatory obligation to ensure nationwide e-portals for filing RTI applications for ensuring rights to citizens?
Answer is yes, this should be done. It's like Section 4. Section 4 की अगर कल्पना बराबर होती तो आज सब कुछ कंप्यूटर में होता, पेपरलेस होता. So it's a promise. We need to keep putting pressure on governments to enact this.
The next question is from Ashish Shah. He asks that whether RTI can be filed like a complaint in the court of law.
RTI is right to information, it gets you information. I think what perhaps he means is whether the information obtained in RTI can be filed. The answer is obviously yes. It's an authentic record obtained from a government office.
Subramaniam asks that whether PM Cares is coming under RTI. And secondly, he asks that whether what are all the institutions which will not come under RTI.
Well, that would be impossible to explain. You must take a look at the definition of this. But in my opinion, PM Cares definitely comes under the definition of public authority, and they are illegally refusing to honor RTI.
Rasoon wants to ask a question. He's raising his hand. I am just unmuting him.
Sir, I had a question. We all are aware that there is a huge pendency of cases at the Central Information Commission. So, sir, the first point which I want to know from you is that what is the effective remedy as you have held that particular position? The second question is that whether the activists should take a different approach. They should approach the High Court or the concerned High Court, as the RTI is a fundamental right, and the Supreme Court recently held that if there is a breach of fundamental right, then the remedy would not be a bar to approach the High Court. So, sir, your comments on this.
In the first place, my courts violate my fundamental right every day in courts. Article 14 is violated, Article 21 is violated. All judicial and quasi-judicial decisions must have timeliness. When I became a commissioner at that time also, the pendency used to be about 8 months to a year. And I had made a commitment that 90 days ke andar main decision lunga. Now, on the issue, the truth is, most of our commissioners do not have a sense of responsibility. Most of them, there are exceptions, but the majority of them do not feel a sense of ownership and responsibility. Otherwise, in my opinion, they must make a commitment that hum 3 mahine ke andar decision denge, or it becomes right to history instead of right to information. This I've been saying openly and writing openly about this, that this is wrong. Selection of commissioners से problem शुरू होती है. Commissioners ऐसे select होने चाहिए, और ये चीज सिर्फ right to information की नहीं है. To broaden this, Human Rights Commission, Women's Commission, Children's Commission, लोक आयोग, लोकपाल, ये सब के लिए है. 10 साल पहले लोकपाल चाहिए, इसके लिए लाखों लोग रास्तों पे आ गए थे. आज लोकपाल बन गया है. पैसा तो खर्च हो रहा है जनता का, मगर क्या हो रहा है किसी को पता नहीं है. तो मेरे हिसाब से इनका चयन पहले ट्रांसपेरेंट तरीके से होना चाहिए. एक इंटरव्यू बिफोर फाइनल सिलेक्शन शुड बी पब्लिक. B, they should have shown some predilection for the transparency. C, उसके बाद सिविल सोसाइटी को उनको मॉनिटर करना चाहिए, जो हम नहीं कर रहे हैं. हम अकाउंटेबिलिटी नहीं ले रहे हैं, ना हमारे कोर्ट से हम अकाउंटेबिलिटी ले रहे हैं, ना कमीशन से अकाउंटेबिलिटी ले रहे हैं, सिर्फ कंप्लेन कर रहे हैं. तो बादशाह और बेगमों को जरा खड़े होके कुछ थोड़ा और एक्टिव काम करना पड़ेगा. अगर मैं आपको भी कहता हूं, अगर आपकी इंस्टीट्यूशन सेंट्रल इन्फॉर्मेशन कमीशन के डिसीजंस को और हर कमिश्नर का इवैल्यूएशन करे हर 2 महीने में, फर्क पड़ेगा. कोर्ट के डिसीजंस का भी हम एनालिसिस करें, हर जज का हम एनालिसिस करें, हमें अकाउंटेबिलिटी जवाबदेही लेनी पड़ेगी, जो नहीं हो रहा है. बट यू आर राइट, इफ दिस कंटिन्यूज आरटीआई हैज अ बैड फ्यूचर. बट अगर हम इसको बदलाव लाए, और ये हमें ही करना पड़ेगा और कोई नहीं करेगा.
So, Dr. R.N. Vivekanandan has a question to ask. I'm unmuting him. Yes,
Hi, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
If the commissioner is not interested to provide information, or he says no information is available with him regarding any issues, So what next? A common public may get the information from the commission, sir.
We'll have to build public pressure, my friend. You know, people say ये नहीं होता है, कुछ नहीं होता है. Let me put this before you, all of you. 70 years plus back, we had a foreign ruler, the British, and Indian citizens could push them out. Now it's our own government. Can we not bring change? Unless we have the confidence that we'll have, I completely agree with you, commissions. As I said earlier also, commissioners are selected by no predilection for transparency. उनको transparency के लिए कुछ झुकाव ही नहीं होता है, सबको नहीं, but 90% of them or 95% of them have no addiction to transparency. तो इसका हम क्या करें? We'll have to bring change. Just give me a minute. Just give me 10 seconds. Hello. ના મારું ચાલુ છે બધી 5-10 મિનિટ પછી. આ તો પણ બેલ વાંચે. તું બહાર છે. એ તું ઘંટી મારતી બધી. Yeah, go ahead.
So next question is asked. Mehtab Alam asks that many RTI activists are killed in UP and Bihar. What is your opinion about it?
It is wrong. It is a reflection on the lawlessness of these states. And this applies not just to RTI. People who oppose the powers that be quite often are assaulted, murdered, etc. And RTI activists are a subset of that. RTI की वजह से नहीं होता है. आप चैलेंज करते हो जब बदमाशों को, गुंडों को, तब ये होता है. इसके लिए आपको सिर्फ आपकी लॉफुल आपके कोर्ट्स को बराबर करने पड़ेगा, ये पूरे देश को ठीक करना पड़ेगा.
Now, so Shiva Prasad asks that can we submit our RTI information in court as evidence?
In my opinion, yes, because it's an official record.
So, don't have any more questions. So, sir, thank you so much. It was great listening to you and getting to know so much about the practical aspects and nuances of RTI. I'm sure that this session will be of great help to each and every person attending and will help them in future as well. So I would now request our academic coordinator and our constant support, Monica Kharola ma'am, to speak few words and conclude this workshop. Monica ma'am.
Thank you, Aditya. It was nice on your part to compare this program so well. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank our guest speaker today, who has wonderfully shown how effective RTI is and his own experience. And being at the hem of right to information, he has motivated, guided, and our students, as it is, they were very keen on taking up RTI. And like sir has correctly said, that RTI will be used not only to get information, but also to help make our systems more answerable. And they, in that sense, they make the government more, they are more cautious of what they are doing, because the departments and other agencies of the government, this RTI keeps them on their toes, and it helps the people to be informed and also to have that feeling of empowerment, that in case there is something required, they can always ask their government for information. And sir, our students are very, very proactive relating to RTI, and that is why many of them do their internships also with the commission. So it's been wonderful listening to you, and I truly agree that to make our Bharat Mahan, we, all of us, must effectively work towards doing something to make the system better. And what better than to ask for our rights in the first place, and then to ensure that the governance, works effectively. So like being responsible citizens, voting responsibly, and keeping in track of our rights and what information we can have in order to enforce our rights. Sir, I, on behalf of ICFI University, Dehradun, thank you for being here and for giving us this wonderful talk. And the students have enjoyed it, and their interest and their keenness on making an impact also is visible by their responses to your talk. So thank you very much. We would love to have you sometimes on our campus. I, on behalf of ICFI, thank you for this deliberation. And I thank all the participants for interacting nicely and understanding the subject matter. I'm sure that they will take your words forward, and there'll be many, many RTIs which will come, and it will become such a force that the RTI applicants will not have to fear for. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
So I'm very much thankful to you, sir. Very kind of you, sir. It was really very enlightening, very sensitizing, and very informative, rather, session. And I'm sure that my students will understand and take the initiative in future. As a
Thanks to all of you, and my salam to the Badshahs and Begums of this nation.
Yeah, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
May I close the meeting, sir?
Thank you, Sunil, for bringing sir here and
For inviting and sure. I'm very much thankful to sir has spared his valuable time. So it was very nice hearing you, sir, because it was very enlightening, rather.
I hope so.
Thank you.
I hope we make it change. Thank you.
So thank you, Salesh sir. Thank you, Vice Chancellor sir, Registrar sir, Dean sir, Monica ma'am, and thank you all the team, Prasoon, Shruti, and all students who are behind this. Thank you, all of you, for joining this platform and just listening patiently to the great person, Shailesh sir. So once again, Shailesh sir, we are very thankful that you have found a valuable time for us, and it was a really mind-blowing session, sir. And I was for the last so many minutes, I'm continuously sitting without, just it was just the time passed in a jiffy, it seems to me. And I hope that we would be arranging once more, we will, because this time is too short for pouring all of the knowledge you are and experience that the vast experience you are having with you. So with this, thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And thank you all the participants, Pan India, all the lawyers, academicians, students, and all the peoples of ICFI who have joined this. Thank you, all of you.
I, on my behalf, thank all the organizers.
Thank you, sir.
Sunil sir and others. Okay,
sir.
best of luck. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Sunil sir and others, all the organizers. That is our Aditya Aryan and others. Thank you.
Okay, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.